Good day to you all and welcome to my channel today. My name is Chekube Madichie. In today's video, we want to learn how to use eView to estimate a vector autoregressive model with emphasis on parsimony. Otherwise, you can say that today's video is on estimation of parsimonious vector autoregressive model using eView. Before we proceed, I want to beg of you to quickly subscribe to my channel and turn on the notification bell so that whenever I post video, you will get notification and follow up with these useful tips. Now, coming to a parsimonious model, what do we mean by that? A parsimonious model is a model that has the ability to provide the desired level of explanation or prediction using a few number of regressors. Okay, now this is our work file. Okay, here is our work file. It has been created and we have three variables in this work file. So here we have UMP, we have RL, and we have MCS, sorry. Now we are using quarterly data, and what do we do? How do we begin this process? The first step is to conduct optimal lag selection. So we are going to start with lag selection. How do we do that? We quickly run a standard var, which is also what we are doing. We click on each of the variables and open them as a var. Okay, here we leave the pointer, we check the standard var and leave everything the way they are and run this var. Here are the results, and we quickly go to lag structure to select the optimal lag. So we put this on 4 and click OK. Now here we have all the information criterion. They have chosen lag 2 as the optimal lag. Our major concern is on AIC because AIC is more efficient. Of course, when you look at all the values here, AIC shows the smallest value among the information criteria. Okay, now this simply means that our var still has the lag 2 because we have lag 2 here. So we proceed. Okay, this is the var, estimated var, and this var result is coming with coefficient, standard error, and t statistics. So the standard error is in the middle, the first bracket, while t statistics is last bracket there. Now what do we do? How do we know the variables that are significant and those that are not significant? Remember, our business is to estimate a parsimonious var, and this parsimonious var will follow the approach of general to specific method. Now what do we do then? We re-estimate this model to be able to generate the probability values, because the probability values will give us the exact level of significance. Now what do? We click on proc, we go to make system, and click on order by variable. Okay, this is the system we want to estimate. Now having done that, we go to estimate, and this time around we are using ordinary least square. There are other methods anyway, but we are using ordinary least square method. The result is out. Now I want to tell you that the coefficient remains the way they are in the previous analysis, but the probability values are out now. Okay, the probability values are out now. So from these probability values, we can now see the variables that are not significant and those that are significant. So if you count, you find out that variables such as C3, okay, C3 is not significant, C4 is not significant. We leave C5 because this is barely 10% level. Okay, we leave C6 and we see C7. We can see C8. We can see C9. Can see C9. Can see C12. Can see C13. Can see C15. Can see C16. C17, C18, and C21. So we have a total of 21 coefficients, and what we can see here now is that only 9 of them are statistically significant. Okay, so the remaining 12 are not statistically significant. So 12 of them are statistically not significant, not statistically significant, which represents about 57%. So this is actually over-parameterized. The model is over-parameterized, having too many insignificant lags. Okay, having too many insignificant lags, which must have resulted from the problem of multicollinearity. Now, what do we do at this point? We begin the process of what is called the general to specific method of arriving at the parsimonious model. How do we do this? We pick out all the insignificant regressors. We pick them out, this coefficient. We pick them out and conduct a word test to determine whether we are going to remove them or not. Now, what do we do then? We go to word test. How do you do that? We move to view, move to coefficient diagnostic, and click on word test. Now we are adding all the insignificant coefficient. Okay, we are adding all of them. Okay, okay, we have to be patient because I didn't copy this, so the process we have to be a little bit slow. Just follow what I'm doing. I'm sure you can get it correctly. So you can see what I'm doing. Can see what I'm doing. You have to be careful when you are doing this in order not to miss any thing you want to add there. You can see what I'm doing. So we want to conduct this test, and from what we have here, we see that this probability value is significant at 1%, which shows us that there are actually some coefficients that we cannot consider removing from this process. So what do? We go back to output again and consider dropping variables with you consider removing only those with the highest probability value. Okay, highest probability value. So what are we going to do? We look at each of these results here and pick them one after the other. So the highest probability value that we have here is 21. Okay, we move back to specification and remove C21. We move back to estimate and come back. Okay, and examine all the probability values again and see the one of see the one of 0.93 as the one that is the highest here. Okay, you can see we remove 0.93. that means we are removing C4. So we remove C4 by returning to spec. Where is C4? Here is C4. And we re-estimate. After estimating, we examine the result again, and here we remove C15. So here we are taking this as general to specific, which means we are removing from the p-values that are the biggest in size. Okay, biggest in size p-values are being removed. So we say we are removing C what again? C15. Where is C15? Here is C15. Okay, we estimate back, and we saw that here the highest p-value is 0.84. yes, 0.84, and that 0.84, sorry, that 0.84 corresponds to C8. So we go back to spec and remove C8. So having removed C8, we re-estimate the model, and what do we see here? The highest in p-value here is 0.63. okay, 0.63 is the highest in p-value, and that corresponds to C12. Now of course you can see that all these C coefficients we are removing are all the coefficients that has been identified as not statistically significant. Sorry, we are going back to pick out okay, C12. We remove C12. Where is C12? Here is C12. Here is C12. We re-estimate. What can we get? We examine the p-values here and see that the highest is the one that is coming with 0.60, and that corresponds to C18. So we remove C18. We remove C18. Okay, and re-estimate the model. What can we see here? We now see that the model is coming down and variables are becoming significant, and here we remove C17. Okay, we are going to remove C17 here. C17, please pardon my fastness. Okay, remove C17 and re-estimate the model. What can we see from here? We now see that the insignificant regressors we have now is 1, 2. Okay, 1, 2. So we remove C7. C7 is still not significant, so we remove C7. Okay, we remove C7. C7 is was part of the variables identified as not significant. So C7, here is C7. So having removed C7, we re-estimate and we get the results. Here all the variables have come down to, all the p-values have come down, and the highest p-value we have here is 0.10. okay, so and that one there, we can actually say that the value there is still at 10%. Now this is the extent we can actually go at this point. So what do we, this is actually the parsimonious VAR model, and remember that the VAR specification is here. They are here, and this is the model, the first equation, the one of UMP. These are the variables remaining. These are the variables remaining for RL, and these are the one of this. So if you can also look at some test statistics like the R square. R square is very high in all the equations. Then Durbin-Watson for first equation is okay because it approximates to 2. For the second one is okay because it approximates to 2, and for the third one is okay, it's approximate to 2, which simply means that judging by these test statistics, you can see that the model is in its completeness, being able to predict give accurate prediction or very high predictive power with few number of regressors. And when we look at the Durbin-Watson, find out that you can actually say there's no missing variables in this model. Okay, this is how to estimate a parsimonious VAR. Now, what else do we do? If you like, you can go into representation of this result by going to view and moving to representations. So what can you see here? Look at these substituted values, coefficient, and of course based on usual OLS interpretation of results, you can actually interpret this result. For instance, this first one, which is a past value of UMP, we can see that we can actually interpret it to say that a percentage increase in the previous value of UMP will bring about 1.7 or 1.66% increase in the current value of UMP. Okay, now for this the 2-period lag, okay, a percentage increase in 2-period lag of UMP will bring about 0.69% decrease or decline in the current value of UMP. So these are the way to, other things being equal, remember this is based on the ceteris paribus assumption. Okay, so this is a way to achieve parsimonious estimation or VAR model. So the process we took here is actually a general to specific approach. Okay, the general to specific approach here means that we started removing insignificant variables with very high probability values. Okay, that is how we started, and we advanced until we reach the optimal level where we now have variable probability values that are barely greater than 0.1. Okay, thank you very much for your time. Remember to subscribe to the channel, and of course, if there's any comment, anyhow you can contribute to this channel or this process, we are open to accepting comments. Thank you very much.